Greetings, travelers, and happy Halloween! Today's video I am super excited for. We are going to be playing with the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. Look at just look at this component. Look how beautiful it is. Like, it shifts so wonderfully. Like, this is really just hits me in the spooky vibes for fall. Just looking at the palette on the inside, you can just see how versatile it is. Like, you can get so many different looks out of this. I'm super impressed with it. All three looks that I created with this palette, I absolutely loved. I was very impressed with it. You can make some like kind of neutrally wearable looks with it, or you can go like super colorful with the orange and green, or you can go super dark and sultry with like all of this side of the palette, like super yummy dark shades to really deepen out a look. This palette just all across the board, I am really impressed with. I loved it. I'm going to be showing you three looks with this palette today. The first look that I did is kind of a combination of both sides. I decided to stick to my roots and use all of the Romanian shades from in here. If you don't know, I am Romanian. I was born in Romania. I moved to Canada when I was 4.5 years old, but I still speak the language. I still hold very strongly to my cultural roots. It's a huge part of my identity. So to see that there were so many Romanian shades in here just made me super happy, and it's part of the reason why I wanted to buy this palette as much as I did. Part of the reason why I did buy it. So for the first look, I used all of the Romanian shades. I used Bran Castle, Count Dracula, Hoia Baciu Forest, that's how you pronounce that, Hoia Baciu, and the Merry Cemetery, which in Romanian is Cimitirul Vesel. So you get 18 shades in this palette, mattes and shimmers both. The shimmers are super buttery soft and easy to work with. The mattes are also super buttery soft and nice to blend out. The only one that I had a minor issue with is this blue, the Black Forest. I found it got a little bit patchy on this eye, but it's nothing that you can't work with and blend out, like you'll see in the tutorial that I was able to kind of get it to work. But I love the format of this palette because you get the first three columns. The first three columns on the left side of the palette are like super autumnal brown, green, orange, gold kind of like shades for the fall. And then the last three columns are very like dark, spooky Halloween kind of dark shades. Like, I really just love the versatility of this palette and how it's like cut right in half. I want to take a second and just talk about the component, because not only is the component super cool that it like shifts and changes, but I was super impressed, and this is actually a minor gripe, but I was impressed that on the actual cardboard packaging here, on the back they have the shade names and they're actually translated into their respective languages on the back of the cardboard box. So the Hoia Baciu Forest is translated on the back of the box to Pădurea Hoia, which is how you would say that in Romanian. And then you have Castelul Bran, which is Bran Castle, and then Cimitirul Vesel, which is the Merry Cemetery. My gripe is that I wish that these hadn't been translated into English for the inside of the palette. Like, I get that people wouldn't be able to necessarily understand it and say the words, but like, Google Translate's a thing. Google Translate is a thing, and like, I get it, but I'm also miffed about it. So that's just a personal gripe. But I do love the palette, it's great, and you'll see just how versatile it is when I go into my three looks. So without further ado, let's start with the looks, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts afterwards. So I'm going to take the color Bran Castle, or Castelul Bran. So I'm going to take that color in along the crease, inner and outer portion of the eyelid. Just really mess this up. Just like really make it look like a convincing bruise. I'm also taking that Bran Castle along the bottom lash line, blending that out and smudging it out like super, super diffused. Next, to go in and make it look even more like somebody punched you in the eye, I'm going to take Count Dracula in the outer corner of my eyelid and really pack that on, blend that upwards towards the gray that we put in there before. And here is where you start to get that like speckled brown and purple of a real bruise. Looks great. I actually do love this look. There's like no joking in that. I love the bruised eye look. I'm taking a bit of Count Dracula on the bottom lash line, just in the outer corner with a smaller brush. Then on one finger, I'm going to take the shade Merry Cemetery or Cimitirul Vesel. I'm gonna pat that literally all over my eyelid across the outer corner where all of that bruisiness is happening, and then all along to the inner corner. Just to blend in that shimmer, I'm going to take a little bit more of Brand Castle with the same fluffy brush that I used before, and I'm going to take that into the crease just to blend in that green with the purple a little bit better. Then in the inner corner, I'm going to take Hoia Baciu Forest or Pădurea Hoia Baciu, and I'm going to put that in my inner corner as a highlight. I tried with a brush at first and I found it wasn't really sticking super well, so I went in with my pinky finger and I just placed that all along the inner corner. I went back in with the shade Merry Cemetery along the bottom lash line, just the inner corner of the bottom lash line. Then I finished off the look with some black eyeliner, and then I took a dark green eyeliner into my bottom waterline. Then just some mascara, blush, and lipstick, and this is the finished look. For this look, I'm going to focus more on the autumnal shades on the left side of the palette, so the first 3 columns on the left. As a transition shade, I'm going to take the shade Mary King's Close and place that all over the crease, blending this outwards towards the brow bone. I only ever realized during these close-ups how kind of unruly my eyebrows are, but you know what? I like them that way. Next, on my MAC 217S, I'm going to take the shade Grendel, which is this beautiful dark green, and I'm going to place that and pat it onto the outer corner of my eyelid. I really want this green to shine, so I am like packing it the hell on there. So using the same brush that we used for Mary King's Close, I'm gonna take it and just blend that color outwards and into Mary King's Close. Next, on a small pencil brush, I'm gonna take the shade Frankenstein and place that on the inner portion of my eyelid. Bring that all the way into the inner corner. You kind of want to follow the crease line with this color and just really focus it in and around the crease. I made a big mess with that side, but we're gonna go in and blend it out a little. Just using a very small blending brush, I'm gonna go in and blend that color Frankenstein out so that we don't get any harsh edges. I'm just gonna go and match the top lid space to the bottom lash line. So on a big fluffy brush, I'm taking that shade Mary King's Close again, and I am brushing that all along my bottom lash line. With whatever is left on my brush that I used for Grendel, I'm going to take a little bit of that into the outer corner. Then taking my big fluffy brush again, I'm just going to blend that out. Then on the pencil brush that we used for Frankenstein, I'm going to take a little bit of that on the same pencil brush, run it along the bottom. Basically, I'm just matching the top to the bottom. Then on my finger, I'm going to take the shade Merry Cemetery and place that over top of the green. Then I'm going to take Highgate Cemetery and place that in the center of my eyelid. Lastly, I'm going to take the shade Boogeyman and I'm going to place that on the inner portion. I don't want to cover that orange completely, I just want to put a little bit in there, just to create a beautiful little gradient. With just a wet pencil brush, very small wet pencil brush, I'm going to take the shade Boogeyman and just run that along the inner portion of my bottom lash line. Then some of the shade Merry Cemetery. Lastly, with Highgate Cemetery, I'm just going to take some of that wet, place that in the middle. Just to kind of make sure it's all blended out and we don't get any harsh lines, I'm going to take a little more of Mary King's Close on a big fluffy brush, ideally one that is clean, that is not touched by the green, and I'm going to take that into the crease again, just along the edges of what I've done with the shimmers and everything, just to kind of blend it all together. Because I feel like I've lost a little bit of the orange, I'm gonna go back in with that pencil brush and just add a little bit more into that yellow. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this yellow shimmer onto my brow bone. And this is the shade Huska Castle that I'm putting on my brow bone. It looks just like a little bit of fairy dust. And there you go, that is the look completed. This is using the leftmost 3 columns of the palette, the more autumnal green, orange, yellow shades. I went strong with the eyebrows today. Okay, I'm gonna go for a really dark look today. So I'm gonna take the shade Black Forest on a pencil brush, and I am going to put that straight into the crease and just outline the whole of the crease with that shade. I'm just placing that color right now with this pencil brush, and then I'm gonna go in later and adjust it. I just want this to be dark as hell. Trust the process, trust the process. On a big fluffy brush, I am then going to take the shade Bran Castle. I'm going to blend out the edges of that blue. Still a little bit of patchiness over here on the inner corner, but I'm gonna go in and fix that. I'm not worried about this being super messy. I kind of want it to be, so. I'm gonna go back in with a smaller blending brush with that shade Black Forest again. I'm gonna bring it down towards the lash line. And while I'm adding more of that shade, I'm kind of going in and blending out what was there before so that we get rid of some of the patchiness that we saw. I have to admit, this is not the shade I thought I would have an issue with it being patchy. Don't be afraid to bring that out towards the edge of the brow. Like, I really just want to smoke this out and make it super dramatic. Going back in with that Black Forest, I'm just adding more to the outer corners. And then I'm gonna take the shade Bran Castle on a big fluffy brush again and brush that all along the bottom lash line. I want it to go a little bit darker, so I'm gonna take that Black Forest again on the pencil brush and just stamp that in the inner and outer corners. Then on an angled liner brush, I'm gonna take that shade Black Forest and push that up against the bottom lash line in the outer corner. And I'm going to go in and blend that out just a little. Going in with the shade Krampus, I'm going to place that over the blue. Actually, I'm just gonna put it all throughout the eye. Just want that to be dark. My eye now looks like the night sky, and it's beautiful. Then I'm going to take the shade Bloody Mary, which is this beautiful red shade, and I'm gonna put that in the center. Then I'm quickly gonna go in with my brush and just blend that in to the other colors. I didn't put any other color on this brush. I didn't pick up any more eyeshadow. I'm just using whatever is left on it to blend that out. Then I'm gonna take the shade Big Bad Wolf, and I'm going to place that, or at least try to, along the inner corner of the bottom lash line. It's like a really beautiful, like lavender, purple, gray. And then finally, I'm going to take the shade Hoya Baciu Forest and place that in the inner corner. And there you go, that's the final look completed using the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. I realized that I totally forgot to give you guys the price tag of this. This is retailing for $44 US, which is actually quite reasonable for an 18 pan eyeshadow palette. It's a sizable palette as well, like it's pretty big holding it, and the pans are quite large as well, like it's for such a big palette, the pans are like a sizable amount that you get in there. Like this is gonna last you a long time. Perfect for the Halloween season. Overall, I really loved using this. All of the mattes and the shimmers were really easy to work with. The only exception, like minor exception I would say, is this Black Forest shade. I found it got a little bit patchy in certain areas on this eye, but I don't know if that was me, the way I was applying it, or if it was the shadow itself, or maybe I just have one really dry eye that like the color just didn't want to adhere to it correctly. Like I don't know what it is, but if you have this palette and if you've tried out that shade and you have the same issues with it, I would love to know. If you don't have the same issues with it, I would love to know. So please let me know in the comments below what you think of this palette. I really, really loved it. I think that it's super versatile. You can get a lot of different looks out of it. It was super easy to work with. They're gorgeously blendable. The shimmers are like buttery soft. Like I was super surprised like dipping my finger into one of the gold shades the first time, just how soft they were. Just so beautiful. The packaging is phenomenal, very spooky. This was basically exactly what I was looking for this Halloween season, because I wanted to get one kind of spooky Halloween palette for the spooky times, and this really did fulfill that for me. I love this palette so much. It's really just a great purchase. Like I can't even say more than that. I do believe it is a permanent palette in their collection, like it's not limited edition, so you don't necessarily need to get it now, but for whenever you can or whenever you want to, it's there. It's just perfectly spooky, just like me today. But yes, that is basically it for me for this review of the NOMAD Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it inspired you to go forth and do your own spooky, scary looks for this Halloween season. Just go forth and like put some spooky eyeshadows on your face. Make yourself look like a vampire. I know we're only like 2 days away from Halloween right now as I'm filming this. Hopefully I will be able to edit and post this video today so that you have 2 days to kind of like prepare and hopefully get some inspiration for your own Halloween looks. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below if you're not subscribed already. Thank you once again for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video. Happy Halloween, everybody.